Hello, everybody. Hello, are you out there? Now, I can't see you, and you can hopefully see me as clearly as I hope you can with your internet service and your laptop or your device is quite close to some kind of router that you have here. Welcome to tonight's opening of Festival of Now 2020, Festival of Women Now, Not Ordinary Work. I'm Noorlinah Mohamed and Now's Artistic Director. You're watching us live on either one of the two transmission platforms that we have. Is either the TWorks Facebook page or TWorks YouTube. Now, if either one of them is wonky for some reason or other, just try to go to the other one. Okay, now thank you very much for joining us. And if you can see me, I've got a laptop to my left. I hope to say hello to as many of you out there. Hey, Jeanette, because she's come to say hello all, so I can see her. Please drop a note, drop an icon, or do something that's just to make me feel that your presence, you know, it will be great. It will make us feel connected and stay in touch. Now 2020, really would not have been possible without the tremendous support from women collaborators across different sectors, not just limited to the arts. And they've made it possible for Now to be a platform that celebrates lateral collaborations between women change makers, thought leaders, creatives, champions of ideas and causes across different sectors. We have women from health, education, social services. We have them from the creatives, of course, from film, from broadcast, from theatre, from contemporary art, and all of us collaborating together and see what happens when we work and play across different platforms. And that's the interdisciplinary nature that Now has brought to you. Now, with that, we create new bridges and pathways. And in the process, we unpack narratives that are not often told and heard, or sometimes we learn of concerns needing amplification, and we get to know of areas where support is urgently needed. Now, this has something to do with the fact that I feel living in Singapore, sometimes we work within silos. We're quite insular. It's a small island. We're not that connected. Sometimes we don't talk across platforms. And with Now, since 2019 and now 2020, and certainly moving on to 2021, we will continue to endeavor with that. We want to try and break those boundaries and really find ways to create solidarity, alliances, connections, engagement across platforms and across sectors. Now, apart from the collaborators that I thank out loud now at the very start, I would like to take this opportunity to also thank the TWorks Lean team. We have a very small team, but they've been a rock. They're very, very supportive and they worked very, very hard. I'll be showing you a video next and you will see them there. Now, I'm also going to do a shout out to the volunteers who've just come out and helped us when we needed them. And they are, because they're not in the video, so I would like to name them here: Eugene Ho, Benedict Leong, Sabrina Singh, Casey Hu, Angelo Balaktas. They've come on board for the 24-hour playwriting competition. So for those who are joining us in the 24-hour playwriting competition this weekend, you'll meet them. And also we have Kanya, Chin Yong Hui, and Shua Peralta, who've come on board to help me with Entangled Intimacies, Transnational Divorce Narratives that will be showcased on the 18th July, which is also this coming Saturday on Zoom webinar. Thank you very much to those volunteers. And of course, also to those individuals, you know who you are. There's so many of you from last year to now. I meet you, I bump into you, talk with you, and you're so open to sitting with me over coffee or just some meal and to talk and discuss ideas for Now 2020. I thank you for the leads you gave me, the direction and pointers, and you'll see the results of all of those wonderful chats we've had and the lineup over the next 3 weeks from 15th of July, which is today, all the way to the 2nd of August. Now, before we come to the video, I would like to invite you to grab yourself a drink. In the TWorks tradition, it's always good to toast, says Ong Keng Sen. Hello, I hope he's there, wherever he is. Hello, a tribute to you with these toast. So please grab a drink, your choice of poison. Mine is coffee, and it's here waiting for me. That is something that I need right now, just to stay awake and enjoy the rest of the program and then continue with the work. So, if you've got that ready, we are now ready to start our video. Video, please. Hello everyone, welcome back. I was just chatting with some of you on both Facebook and YouTube. Hello Dana, Melinda, Zahira, Z. I hope you're still there. It's lovely to have you saying, you know, wow and nice things to me. Thank you very much. It really feels very warm to have all of you supporting this program. This is the first time. This is our first virtual edition. As you all know, things have changed, and the wonderful thing about change is uncovering human spirit. And that's what tonight is all about. We celebrate human spirit, the endeavor to rise above challenges, and most importantly, to show that we care for one another and support one another. And that's what Now is all about. Because to have tonight, it wouldn't have been possible with everyone coming on board to show such generosity with their time, with their spirit, with their energy, and with their creativity. And this brings me to our next program that's coming up immediately after mine. And that's the live chats with Women of Now. Part 1 is tonight, starting just in a few minutes' time, and then part 2 tomorrow, and part 3 on the 17th of July. Now, live chats with Women of Now animates the digital exhibition Women of Now that is available on the website. If you go to our website, notordinarywork.com, you will see 27 profiles. But what I would like to talk about is not the profiles, because you can read about them, and then we have these two lovely hosts that will speak more about them. I would like to give you a little a little intro about these two lovely hosts. Aarathi, Arumugan, and Dhaniah, Wijaya. These two hosts come from different backgrounds, but both share a belief in the power of the voice, how we work together in championing other causes, and women as well, championing women and their causes, championing their endeavors and supporting them in every way. And so these two women, one from enterprise and business, and another from interfaith collaborations and facilitation, education, and both of them have come together to work together for the very first time. Prior to this, both Aarathi and Dhaniah have not met each other. And they are directed and facilitated by Anita Kapoor, the luminous and talented Anita Kapoor. And so there's live chats with Women of Now that comes on board just a few minutes from now. Will feature about, I think, 8 profiles and 9 profiles per night. That would be lovely for you to stay and also engage with the two hosts, Aarathi and Dhaniah. And I would like to end this opening highlighting TCare. Now, as you know, TCare is a new initiative led by TWorks, formerly known as TWorks. It's a creative action resilience enabling initiative that supports ground-up endeavors led by women to effect a positive change in their respective communities. Now, TCare is a fundraiser. It's a way for you to donate to it, and your contributions will be divided equally and donated to 7 projects. Now, these 7 projects will be elaborated further during live chats with Women of Now subsequently. I just want to say what it means for now to have TCare in solidarity with us, in supporting our endeavor, and also initiating something like this. The 7 projects are the Codette Project, Keeping Hope Alive, It's Raining Raincoats, Project Julia Street, 3 Pumpkins, Project X, as well as my event now. And so if you're in a position to give, I encourage you to go to giving.sg and search under TCare to donate. And that's all I have for you now. So do stay with us on Facebook and YouTube and share your thoughts, drop us a note, and most importantly, grab that drink. No, I did not forget. Grab that drink and we toast to a wonderful festival for the next 3 weeks. Toast to life, to courage, empathy, compassion, and care. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Noorlinah. And definitely, what a flattering and beautiful introduction. Cheers to that. Cheers to launching this wonderfully diverse Festival of Women. Hello, everyone. I'm Aarathi.
I'm Dhaniah. And hello to Evelyn Chai. She's our sign language interpreter tonight.
And welcome to Live Chats with Women of Now, Part 1.
So we're bringing conversations to your screen with the socially conscious and engaged endeavors of more than 35 women who are working to connect and support the communities they work with. They're featured in our Women of Now digital exhibition, curated by Now Artistic Director Noorlinah Mohamed as part of the Festival of Women. We dive deeper into their work over the next 3 nights, exploring the commitment of our Women of Now to raise awareness of the overlooked gaps in our society.
Yeah, and Festival of Women is part of Now 2020, presented by TWorks, amplifying the work that women creatives, change makers, and social champions do to advance issues affecting women at the intersection of gender, race, and class. The Women of Now digital exhibition is on www.notordinarywork.com, and the ticket tip under our little images there has more information if you'd like to go there.
Thank you for the comment, Mark. We also want to tell you a little bit about TCare, TWorks' beneficiary initiative, which exists to support projects led by women, and is a commitment to making the borders between art and life more porous. This year, it supports 7 projects, and you'll hear from all of them during these live talks. They are the Codette Project by Nurul Jihada Hussein,
Keeping Hope Alive, led by Fionn Phua, Project X with Vanessa Ho, Sherry Shakwesa, and Wani,
It's Raining Raincoats by Deepa Swaminathan, Project Chulia Street by Eva Lim Seng,
Three Pumpkins, led by Lin Shiyun, and Now, helmed by Noorlinah Mohamed.
You'll have an opportunity to hear what motivates them and how they see their growth over the next 3 nights.
Tonight, we'll be in conversation with the Codette Project, Keeping Hope Alive, and Project X. Tomorrow, you'll hear from It's Raining Raincoats and Project Julia Street. And finally, on Friday, we'll be speaking with Three Pumpkins and featuring Now.
If you are in the position to give, we would really appreciate your support for TCare. I encourage you to visit the website www.notordinarywork.com, where you'll find details on how to pledge your support. You can also find the information on the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen. Shall we get started, Aarathi?
Yes. So remember, folks, just before we get started, we are streaming live on TWorks' Facebook page and their YouTube channel. There's a lot of tech making this happen. And as you know, because it's tech, there are lots of messages that we can see as you comment on the show today. So please do keep them coming. And yeah, I think we should just get started, Dhaniah.
All right. So our first live talk of the night is with lawyer, poet, and social justice advocate Amanda Chong. Amanda's work is connected to inequality and how to eradicate it, and both her poetry and her English literacy and language classes attempt to highlight what these inequalities are and create viable solutions that enable the empowerment of lives that are unseen and unheard. Welcome, Amanda. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us tonight.
Hi, Amanda. Lovely to see you. Amanda, so Readable was created to address the inequality of access to English literacy and language skills, specifically for families from migrant and low-income communities living in Singapore. Why, in your opinion, is access to both so limited to marginalized groups?
Well, many of our students are bright, but they don't have the same opportunities as children from higher income backgrounds who have adults at home who can read to them in English. And a lot of the kids we serve are children of transnational marriages, quite often raised by single migrant moms who don't speak English as a first language. And their Singaporean fathers might not always be in the picture due to really heavy work commitments or even incarceration. So we started teaching children to read in 2014 and quickly realized that outcomes are improved if the migrant mothers are also empowered to teach their own children at home. And that's why we started running a class for migrant moms who are also underserved because they don't have citizenship or PR, which may give them access to subsidies for language learning. So we really see ourselves as partnering parents as equals to improve outcomes for their children and ultimately building a community which steadily closes the gap of social inequality.
Absolutely. I think it's when the parents have confidence, they can then, do something with the kids, right? So, yeah. Amanda, what is the impact of these platforms on those who are unfairly rendered invisible in society?
So for us at Readable, it doesn't stop at teaching kids how to read. So we really see literacy as a path to self-advocacy. And it is personally one of my hugest joys to see kids that I taught to read 7 years ago now writing their own stories as teenagers. And so we call our class for teens Readable Champions because we want our kids to champion their own stories as well as the stories of others. And Jalan Kukoh, which is where Readable works, has been covered a lot in the press. And our kids want to be able to correct stereotypes that people have about their neighborhood and to tell the real stories of people who live there. I mean, in their own words, people have the stereotype that Jalan Kukoh is a place where there are a lot of people who have addiction issues with drugs, but they want people to know that there's actually lots of stories and lots of people that you can learn from, and stories of resilience and courage right in the Jalan Kukoh neighborhood itself. And you can actually even follow our kids' stories on the Humans of Kukoh Instagram account.
Oh, that's really good. So then what happens, like, because now you're giving them the opportunity to tell their stories. So what happens when they do have this opportunity? What do you see as that happening?
Well, for me, I think storytelling is powerful both for the person who tells the story as well as those who listen. And I think inviting someone to tell their story immediately diminishes isolation. And a lot of the issue of social inequality is actually linked intimately to isolation. And storytelling actually opens up that space for someone to tell their story to you as an equal. And it says that their truth is significant to you. And I see that even in the process of telling their stories, it really places people as protagonists in their own lives, and it recognizes them as agents and allows them to communicate the values and expectations which have informed their decisions. So just to see our kids having ownership over the narratives in their community, to go around the hawker centers talking to various aunties and uncles and bringing out those stories for the Instagram account, it has been a tremendous experience for me, and I've learned so much.
So Amanda, remind me again, what's the Instagram address, just so that everybody gets it?
Humans of Kukoh, so that's Kukoh.
Brilliant. So Amanda, tonight we're in for a treat, right? Because you're going to be reading us your latest work, Lamentation, which you wrote during the COVID-19 circuit breaker. Tell us a little bit about this poem. Like, why did you decide to write it?
Well, every vignette in my poem was inspired by people that I met during circuit breaker or before circuit breaker and during the pandemic, and many through my work in the neighborhood where Readable runs. And I really wanted to write something that was true to the suffering in this time, as I think it's really part of the role of an artist to reckon honestly with brokenness and with suffering and the kinds of emotional truth behind that. And in this time, I was also very interested in this biblical practice of lamentation, which is how mourning aches its unlikely way towards hope and even praise. And it really is my hope that this crisis that we're all experiencing together will sharpen our collective sense of empathy and mark the beginnings of change in caring better for those who fall on the other side of the fault lines of inequality.
Lovely.
So I will read my poem.
You go ahead. Yeah, please do. I can't wait. Please do.
Lamentations. Perhaps all this was to awaken us to shapes of suffering, the bruise encircling a nurse's mouth as she peels off her mask, mole sparkling expectantly for no one. The migrants who built them huddled shoulder to shoulder on backs of trucks. All this we allowed to go past us without second glance. All this we only began to see when we were made to stand a meter apart, a woman amid laden grocery carts, cradling a bag of rice because all you need for porridge is water. A security guard falls asleep on his feet, then dreams of his daughter across the closed border. She wobbles on a stool, lathers her small hands with suds. I love you. Don't be sick. I love you again. Her voice wanders through lonely cities, once thronged with people. Death descends. Numbers lose their weight. At home, statistics split workers' dorms from the rest of us. Our comfort feels like shame at first, then swells into an unsettling need for change. We must find the cracks where light comes through, then prise them wider. On Sunday, a taxi driver muses to his only passenger. How beautiful, the empty roads. Now we see more clearly the trees. I finally hear something shaped like praise. Each morning, there is a moment before anything bad happens. I see this as promise. Each morning, the dark side of our planet curves towards a certain sun. I call this grace.
Wow, thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing that with us. I think a lot of us can relate also right now to the kind of grief and loss that you've painted. But as you put it across as well, in these times, there are also opportunities to see the grace that we're blessed with. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
It was lovely having you. I wish you all the best with the expansion of Readable, Amanda.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
So Amanda has been a socially conscious storyteller from the age of 10. And she has actually said that opening windows of aspiration in children is through reading.
Yeah. I think, her mission to help children to aspire to more through the work at Readable, she herself is healing much of the inequality in society. And just, through a very simple act of storytelling, right? That you and I take for granted, but a lot of these migrant children don't. It's new for them.
Exactly. And her mission also helps children to aspire to more through the work, And speaking of which, our next guest also helps adults aspire to greater heights. So we're going to have Nurul Jihada Hussein, who will be with us live. The Codette Project is up next, and she's the founder, and she will talk with us about the work of this social impact nonprofit. Now 5 years old, the Codette Project empowers minorities, including Muslim women, through making tech training and resources available. The Codette Project is the first of the 7 TCare beneficiaries that we're speaking to tonight. Welcome, Nurul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So nice to have you with us.
Hi, Nurul.
This is very exciting. Hi.
Okay, so Nurul, how did you first identify your mission and vision? What was the experience that led you to launch Codette Project about 5 years ago?
So the initial experience was really that I had been given the opportunity to pitch for a social impact idea, but that idea was very different from what Codette is now. That idea was to create a boot camp for underserved women to go into the tech industry after 6 months of training. But when me and my initial founding team actually went out and talked to people, especially minority people, like minority Muslim women, we realized that there was a huge untapped demand for tech skills in a way that centered women's experiences and women's needs. So it's not telling women, okay, do this, learn this skill, and you'll get this. It's saying, at this moment, what is it that you need? What is it that you want to do? And what does success look like to you? How can we help you get there? And that's led us to this point where the Codette project is really structured in a more modular way. We have classes, we have workshops. We run Singapore's only women's hackathon, and we've done that since 2018. We were the first people to do a women's only hackathon in Singapore. We've also just launched the Codette Cares project, which was meant to address some of the needs for the community during this very difficult period. So we're funding students and businesses to help them and to provide mentorship over a 12-month period.
Brilliant. So because you've given all this access, I think it's great, right? So what can you share about the sustainable impact, like the economic impact these workshops and these programs that you've initiated have made on these women's lives today?
The answer to that question really starts from, how do we measure impact? For us, the measure of impact is one woman. If we run an event or a workshop or a class and one woman turns up, then to us that's worth it, because a woman is a catalyst for change. She creates change within her family, within her community, and it's long-term change. So for us, the measure of change is really each individual that comes to us. And we look at the people who come to the Codette Project as a community. We are the Codette community. So we know of just looking at our Instagram, looking at our Facebook, and following us, but they've never interacted with us. They may only come to us after 2 years. To us, that's a success. That means that their journey has been enabled by the safe space that we've created, both online and offline. We also have heard anecdotal stories of women, both within the team as well as outside, who've used the skills that they've learned, the connections, and the network to help them get closer to the success that they deserve.
Okay, that's great. I think because obviously when you enable people and it's very typical, right? They watch it and they watch and they watch and they suddenly make that decision. And it's great that you're still there and doing some great things. Nurul, you're one of the TCare supported beneficiaries. What could additional funding do for you?
I think it'd be really important for us. So how we structured is that the Codette project is a zero profit model. We don't charge for any of our classes, our workshops. We don't charge for our mentorship programs. We don't charge really for anything. At most, if we have a workshop, we'll charge a commitment fee that gets refunded when participants attend, and that's in order to make it accessible for everyone. So to be funded by TCares means that we can do more of this work to make sure that more people, especially minority and Muslim women, are given the access to educational and tech opportunities that they deserve. The team is all volunteer. I'm a volunteer. We all have full-time jobs. Everything that we get goes entirely to our programs and our projects.
And this is a link to your Codette Cares COVID-19 program?
We're definitely seeing a lot more need in the community. Even during the interviews and the application process for Codette Cares, it's very clear that the economic implications of COVID-19 are intense and they're not short term. They're going to be around for a while. It is likely that we're going to have another round of Codette Cares. It's very likely that there'll be more people in the community who need specific assistance, whether it's in getting funding at school or getting support for getting the tech resources that they need or getting particular skills or softwares or access. So we're really looking at Codette Cares as something that we can continue doing more of if we have enough funding.
Certainly, I'm sure the funding could be put to good use. Nurul, I wish I could have you for the whole show, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, and take care, everyone.
Good night,
Bye.
Nurul. Bye.
Good night.
With everything going online, I think it's great that Codette makes tech so accessible to such a wide variety of communities, so that they can, level up the playing field.
Yeah. And with Nurul and her team's initiatives, I think it also allows everyone a shot at defining their success.
Yeah.
If you've just
definitely.
joined us, by the way, you're watching Live Chats with Women of Now, Part 1. We were just talking to Nurul Jihada Hussain of the Codette Project, who is one of the 7 beneficiaries of TCare. Once again, I'm Dhaniah.
And I'm Aarathi, your host for tonight.
Up next, we'll also have another guest coming up with us live. Her name is Lyanna Damira. She's a women's advocate, author, and entrepreneur. And she has been a name on many people's lips recently. Lyanna is the author of Homeless, which is her memoir of living rough outdoors over 3 months in 2009. She's also just campaigned as a candidate of the Red Dot United in the general elections. She wants to change the aid system, and she knows it well, having experienced it firsthand as one devoid of dignity and fraught with frustration and humiliation, which adds to the shame and trauma that low-income families are already facing. Hi, Lyanna.
Hi, Dhaniah. Hi, Aarathi. Thank you for having me.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you for
you.
being here.
I
Sorry,
hope you've
Dhaniah.
had some time. It's okay. It's gonna happen with the tech. So I hope, Lyanna, that you've had some time to take a breath since coming off the elections.
Oh, yes, I had to hibernate over the weekend after elections was over. So, yep, have quite a good rest. Thank you.
Good. Just in time for us, right? To barrage all our questions at you. Okay, Lyanna, I'm going to just jump right in. Lyanna, how do we need to change the aid system?
Thank you for that question. Before I go into the how, I would need to emphasize that we will need to ensure that we retain the dignity of those who have gathered the courage to come forward and apply. So, on that note, on retaining that dignity, the how will be in the form of disbursing the aid upon application, because upon application we can always inform the applicants of the repercussions if, let's say, it's being abused, right? And investigate the application while the client is still in the aid process, because aid in itself will require a term or duration to work with the social worker and the organization that disperse the aid to them. So on that note as well, it will give the chance for these case managers to follow up with the beneficiaries of this aid. And with that, I really hope on another point of the how that we can suggest to deploy more men and women on the ground, be it the befrienders, be it that NMSF will need to tie up with the various VWOs that we have, with the charities here in Singapore. So that is, I think, a couple of the stages where we can explore the how and how to change the aid system.
Yeah, so it sounds like there needs to be more of a web, right? Because at the moment they're all kind of operating in silos and you just kind of need to bring them together. Yeah.
Yeah, together we will be better at helping, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Lyanna, do you think your time on the election campaign trail has had an impact on your advocacy work? And if so, tell me how.
Um, First and foremost, the election itself was quite an eye opener for me, because it exposes me to more cases, in fact, up to this day and age, of the variety of families that are falling through the cracks. So during the election time, I had to walk the ground, had to meet the residents, and speak to various families. And it is not surprising for me, but it is heartbreaking to know that a lot of them still face difficulties and challenges even to find help from our current system, right? So on that note, and given the platform of elections, it kind of like amplified the voice, my voice, in fact, on championing for the other voices, the unheard. They usually be called as invisible, because these marginalized families are those who usually get left behind when we are talking
Yeah,
about globalization and going forward, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, you are also not so invisible anymore because now they know exactly who to find, right? Tell me more about your business, virtual assistants in Singapore.
All right. Virtual Assistant Singapore, when I initially founded it, is based on my own challenges. I was a single mother back then, about 6 years ago. I had to put food on the table while still caring for my children, right? And I tried to get back into workforce, face various discrimination, face various challenges, because back then we also do not have fundings or aid in terms of childcare. And Virtual Assistant Singapore was founded when I needed to, still work and be there at home for the care of my growing children back then. And little that I know that it has been around for like 6 years already now, and slowly it grew into getting other single mothers and stay-at-home moms, or even career switching moms, to come over, hop on this bandwagon, and become a virtual assistant here in Singapore. And we do help other companies and MNCs, especially the demographics of our clients, surprisingly MNCs which come to us and outsource work to us. So hey, it's a win-win factor for both sides, right?
Yeah, well, coming from another entrepreneur, well done. Seriously, it's not hard, it's not easy. So really well done. Lyanna, you wrote a book called Homeless, about your
Mhm.
experiences. I think we've got a picture of it for everyone to have a look at. Homeless is available for purchase on Epigram. Lyanna, please tell us a little bit about your book, Homeless.
All right, I have a copy here with me.
Excellent.
And homeless, homeless was something that I wrote as I was going through the transitional phase of getting out of homelessness, staying by the beach, and revolving around how I move forward in life. And it was a manuscript that was buried deep inside my Microsoft Words in my laptop at one point of time in 2013. But only in 2019, me and a couple of friends, we came together and we find the courage to actually put it out there. And it's nice to know that Epigram picked it up. So that's a gist about homeless.
No, I think it's great. It's great to see your story in a written form, right? It's such an achievement. Lyanna, you're also going to read us an excerpt of that book?
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Okay, let me just read an excerpt from the book itself. Another amazing person I came to know was Kirsten Hunt, who was a freelance production assistant at that time and an activist with We Believe in Second Chances. Kirsten and I met early that year when I was busy helping other families from the beach secure homes, and we bumped into each other several times since then. She was a regular supporter of Mamma Mia too. One day, Kirsten visited me at my booth at Orchard Central and asked if I was interested in helping her advocate against the death penalty with We Believe in Second Chances. Even though I barely had enough to feed my own family, I decided to commit 50% of my proceeds to a fund that would help another mother in need. Noor Atika, who was been accused of drug trafficking and had been sentenced to death in Malaysia. Atika's family and friends believed she was set up and were trying to raise $50,000 to appeal the sentence. The efforts of the Save Atika campaign worked. Her death sentence was overturned.
Thank you very much, Lyanna. I think it's great that two stories intertwine in that, right? I mean, in your time of need and in someone else's time of need, and the story just kind of overlaps nicely. Lyanna, I want to just draw a quick appreciation to someone's comment on the screen. Akshita Nanda says, "Congratulations, Lyanna, and I'm so inspired by your example this past GE, and I hope to see you in Parliament one day."
Thank
you.
you.
Oh,
Thank
and
you for
somebody else
sharing
has
your
got,
story.
yeah, and Isabel Dejoux. Oh, she's going to be featured in a couple of days. She says, "Lyanna, your voice, the story, and energy are uplifting." Thank you, Isabel. Lyanna, just quickly before I let you go, many still refuse to accept homelessness exists in Singapore. How can we make people more empathetic, more aware? What can we do?
Honestly, I believe it starts from getting out of your own bubble. Okay, I know COVID-19 just, disseminate and circuit breaker just ended, right? But as much as possible, as any opportunity presents, get out of your house, get on the ground, go to the corners of Singapore where it will not be visited by a lot of tourists, and explore how the locals live there. We being locals ourselves, we did not explore mainly, the heartlands, right? So go to that corner, and especially the beaches and the parks, because these are where you can find and follow your gut instincts, because from there you can see for your very own eyes that these families or individuals exist.
Thank you, Lyanna, for that inspiration and insight. Thank you so much.
It's been great to have you here. Bye, Lyanna.
Thank you
All
so
the
much,
best.
you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, Dhaniah, we've got one. Oh, there's so many comments coming through. They're going by so fast. I can't keep up. Thank you very much for everybody sharing your insights. Sharing your insights. Oh, there you go. Sarah Bagarib, you should be so proud of yourself. Thank you for sharing your truth and using your voice, Lyanna. Thank you very much, Sarah, for that.
Thank you. So I think advocacy around the aid system is really key, it sounds like, in Singapore. There are several non-profit organizations and voluntary welfare organizations, but they don't seem to work together. Like, there doesn't seem to be much collective communication.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of, the DOT has this program where they do this simulation exercise, and that's where I actually realized some of this stuff. And, imagine the impact it would have if they just came together, right? It would give so many people just dignity in asking for help.
Exactly. Right. Well, coming on next is Project X. It's made up of Vanessa Ho, Sherry Shaquisha, and Wani D. Project X is another one of TCare's beneficiaries that we're showing tonight. The words sex worker are still a source of harassment, abuse, shame, disbelief, and neglect in Singapore. Vanessa, Sherry, and Wani run Project X, which has been around since 2008 as an outreach supporting the sex worker community by enabling social, emotional, and legal support.
Their vision is to sustain a fair and safe sex industry that respects the sex worker first, as well as their clients, partners, and families.
Listen and understand how they do this and the challenges and hopes. Let's all work to erase the stigmas around sex work and enable sex workers to lead lives in our communities of rightful dignity and respect. Please watch Project X.
My name is Vanessa Ho. I am the Executive Director of Project X. Project X is a local NGO that supports sex workers in Singapore.
I'm Sherry Shaquisha and I'm a human rights defender for Project X, and I'm also a sex worker.
My name is Wani and I'm popularly known as Kat1, and I'm an Associate Director for Outreach.
I think we're really passionate about helping sex workers because very little people actually care about them. It's not the first group of people that comes to your mind when you think about who is marginalized in society, who is vulnerable in society. People don't think about sex workers. And it's so hard to try and overcome some of these barriers to the funds, to the support services that are out there in mainstream society.
One of the key projects that I do is sexual health.
As a human rights defender for Project X, after attending the conferences globally, I would then come back to Singapore to disseminate all the information to the sex workers community in Singapore.
So we have been very thankful, I think, that we have built up a reputation of our organization over the last sort of 10, 11, 12 years already. So when COVID happened and when we all went into circuit breaker and went to work from home, we had lots of people still calling us, be like, how are you? Are you okay? How are you coping? What are you gonna do now that you cannot work? And so we got over 100 phone calls of people just sharing their struggles with us and their desperation with us. And thankfully also there was sort of a nationwide awakening that there are so many gaps and cracks in society, right? So there's so much outpouring of generosity from the public, and we were able to start a financial aid program which we call the Emergency Safety Net program. So with the contributions from TCare, I think we would definitely continue to run our emergency safety net program to help people alleviate their emergency needs, right? Whether it's rent, being on the verge of eviction, whether it's food, not being able to feed yourself, your dependents, not being able to pay medical bills. We try to alleviate some of those burdens by providing whether it's toothpaste, shampoos, sanitary pads, so on and so forth, as well as food and some living expenses. Definitely one of the challenges we face in terms of educating the public about the issues that sex workers face is that the first thing people will say is, they ask for it, what? All this discrimination, all this violence, all this abuse that they face, all this exploitation they face, they asked for it. They do this kind of work, they should expect to be treated this way. And for us, that is quintessential victim blaming, right? You don't understand what background they come from, you don't understand what kind of struggles that they have to survive through to be where they are today, and yet you layer on all these accusations on them, which we find really unfair, and that's what also drives us to do the work that we do.
Thank you, Project X, for the vital yet largely unseen work that they're doing for the sex worker community here in Singapore.
Yeah. If you'd like to find out more about the work that Project X do, and indeed about any of the other 6 beneficiaries of TCare and all the women that we will be speaking to over these 3 evenings, please do go to the website as mentioned at the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen for more information.
Joining us live next is Zubi Ali. She is a community organizer and consultant to Daughters of Tomorrow. So Zubi is a classic grassroots volunteer. She's a powerhouse of energy, time, and consideration who believes in empowering and enabling self-responsibility in children and in adults, so as to enable growth and development into well-adjusted lives. She works with women and children from less privileged backgrounds to help them gain social, emotional, and life skills. She also creates a foundation for self-sufficiency in circumstances that can't always provide stability. Please welcome Zubi Ali.
Thank you for that amazing introduction, Dhaniah. I'm happy to be here.
Hi, Zubi.
Hi, Zubi.
Zubi, tell me, how do you work to impart life skills and self-responsibility to children growing up within vulnerable situations?
Thank you for the question.
We can't hear you very well.
Shall I take off my microphone?
I think we're having a slight technical issue. Yeah. Let's try it without your microphone.
That's much better. The buzzing is gone.
Okay, but we can't hear you. Yeah. Yeah, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, with tech. Please bear with us as we try and figure this out. Dhaniah, these amazing women that we've already spoken with. I mean, like, look at Project X. I mean, and look at how far they've come from, their very, very humble beginnings.
Yes. And even those that don't come from such humble beginnings, for them to care about these issues in society and to empower others, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, we've got a message here from Shoots Lee. Hi, Shoots. Such wonderful sharing. I didn't know so many women are doing that.
Their part, championing marginalized lives.
Okay, so now you know my secret. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Thank you, Shoots.
Yeah, thank you, Shoots. She says, thank you all. Isabel Dejoux says that, so proud to know Vanessa Ho. Project is definitely worth supporting and will hopefully make society move forward. Just keep these messages coming, everyone. Okay, yes. Well,
thank you for the feedback, Dana.
Okay, so just to remind you folks, we've got 7 projects over these live chat series. They are the Codette Project, led by Nurul Jihada Hussain, whom you've just heard from. Keeping Hope Alive, led by Fionn Phua. Project X with Vanessa Ho, Sherry Shakwesa, and Wani. It's Raining Raincoats
by Deepa Swaminathan. Project Julia Street by Eva Lim Seng. 3 Pumpkins led by Lin Shiyin, and now helmed by Noorlinah Mohamed.
That's right.
So just a reminder once again that the ticker tape holds the information where you'll find details on how to pledge your support. You can visit www.notordinarywork.com.
Okay, so while we work out the technical difficulties with getting Zubi online, we're going to move on to our next guest, who's also a TCare beneficiary, and she uplifts family in truckloads. Dhaniah, would you like to introduce Fionn?
Yes. So exactly, like so much of empowerment is actually, of being empowered, is rooted in having a sense of confidence, the self-reliance to go forward, and also families being uplifted, right? So we have Fionn Phua. She's the founder of Keeping Hope Alive. She's truly a tireless community giant. She's built a 9,000 strong volunteer group and outreach Keeping Hope Alive over 25 years, visiting low-income families to assist with not just their day-to-day needs, but also raising their living standards with clever solutions to ease daily life.
She and her volunteers, if you will pardon my language, just get shit done. They roll up their sleeves, they clean toilets, they deal with bed bugs, and the list really is a long one. The underlying point, everyone deserves a helping hand and a leg up. This is Fionn Phua and her volunteers, keeping hope alive. Please watch.
I plan to spend about 4 hours with about less than 25 volunteers. We're going to clear this house.
For me, I'm quite new down here. It's about a year already. So the last year, 6th June was the first time I came here at Benjamin. And very similarly, we clean this kind of housings. And the same thing this time around is the smell. The smell is the triggering part. It's very scary. I'm not scared of that, but when the smell is so bad, right, you dare not even dare to go in.
Keeping hope alive, how we have this name, Keeping Hope Alive, instead of Keep Hope Alive. Keeping Hope Alive, we meant to be to encourage people to come up from their comfortable zone, to help and see and look and feel for the neediest, for people who came from the low-income family, what are they facing right now? Especially on normal days, they are already facing difficulty. Their pay are always very low, and either they are single parents or they have family with illness. So all this we cannot see from outside of the block. Even you say that you are a kind donor, you wish to donate and help them, you will never know what kind of food they are eating, whether are they Muslim family or are they Chinese family, what kind of food are they eating. Did the person allergic to any food or not, you will know. So that's why in Keeping Hope Alive, it's very important that we really, people come here. We want you to see with your own eyes, feel it with your heart, do it within your ability, and see what can you do to support them. In Keeping Hope Alive, our belief is that we do not help anyone. We are here to seek their permission for them to help us, allowing us to do what we need to do. We have another team going around on the floor now, on the other block. They are actually going around changing light bulb, checking pipe, choking basin, any flush that need to be repaired, and especially children's, family with children that need help in utility bill. So Keeping Hope Alive, we do not raise funds. We want this fund to come into TCare. This fund will go directly to their SP services bill, to their HDB rental.
Thank you, Fionn, for demonstrating what it really means to lead from the front and on the ground, not just at arm's length. It really blows my mind that she's managing 9,000 volunteers while also having a day job.
I know, I have 2 kids and I'm dying, right? It speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about the passion that she has to bridge these gaps in society that she's witnessed. And I mean, you heard her. She goes knocking on doors.
Yeah, exactly. And all the women actually who have all the passion to do what they do, and we are actually featuring them on this live chats. So you'll be able to find out more about Keeping Hope Alive and the other TCare beneficiaries on the Not Ordinary Work website, where you can also pledge your support. Next up, we have joining us live, Asha Adnan, community game changer and founder of Asha & Co. Asha & Co is a supportive community for over 1,600 women that began as part of Asha's personal development and abuse recovery journey. Today, it has evolved into a mental health outreach that works through the power of food and companionship. Hello, Asha.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Dhaniah. Thank you for having me here.
Hi, Asha. It's lovely to see you. I've been wanting to speak to you for so long because of this involvement with food. So I'm going to just jump right in, Asha. So why is there such stigma and shame surrounding emotional and physical abuse and mental health conditions?
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Aarathi. I think it's a very important question to ask ourselves why. Why is there still stigma when there's so much talk already and so much initiatives already coming up? And we can talk about so many contributing factors, but I think if we want to look at the root of it, it's actually also looking at the systems we have in place and how crucial it is in having a role in destigmatization. And a perfect example is actually recently, last few months, when we entered circuit breaker period, and we saw the country debating on whether mental health support is essential or not. And that shows a lot. And that shows a lot. We knew, I mean, my team was already fearing for the worst when we knew we were going to enter circuit breaker. We knew there was going to be, and there was like a triple rise in women who came forward to us and sharing with us that they were going through abuse at home, whether be it with a family member or a spouse. We have definitely, there's a rise of people who are struggling with their mental illness, whether they live alone or whether they live with family who don't understand what they are currently going through. And because we through this, it was only through this pandemic that we realized that there was this glaring crack and gap staring right straight at us. And until the system decides that they would acknowledge that these situations and these people matter and place equal importance, the stigma will definitely continue. There's no way that it would change, and it would trickle down to the education systems, to society, to how we raise family units as well. So that's just how my opinion when we talk about stigma, especially in a local context.
Yeah, no, what you said, Asha, makes triggered me. Like, so you said, how your team instantly knew to expect these cases, whereas the society at large was still debating. And I think it's this fear of the unknown. If you don't experience it, if you have not seen it, if you don't know what it is, then obviously there's going to be stigma and shame, right? That's what the fear of the unknown is about, right?
Yes, this is exactly true. I think before circuit breaker, people had that option and that liberty and freedom to be out, to go to work. But because
That's
of
right.
the current situation, it's not possible. And that's
right.
when actually support is the most important. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, how did Asha and Co. then evolve into 1,600 strong community, and what are your main goals now compared to when you first started?
Okay. I think in the end of the day, numbers are just numbers. Our main focus had always been the community spiritedness and connection with people on. So we're always on the ground. We're just a small team of 3, and we have a small pool of volunteers. But we're always on the ground. We're always reaching out to people, and I guess we strongly believe that each person that comes, no matter where you come from, your background, you have a role, you can contribute. And I guess when people feel safe and valued, they bring other people on board. And I guess that's just how we've just been growing in that sense.
Yeah. And you started with as a home cook. I mean, you're still a home cook, but I love that you started this using food, right, as a starting point for healing. Tell me, what happens in your kitchen? I'm really curious.
My kitchen has seen plenty of things. I think. Which one do you want to hear? The good, the bad, or the ugly? It all happens.
Well, we don't have very much time. I only have maybe one more minute with you. So
okay, so we definitely, it's a space where we've seen women grieving together. We hold space for each other. We listen to each other. We share each other's experiences, but at the same time we also celebrate a lot of milestones together. So it's always nice when over the course, we're quite new, we've only been running for about, this is our 5th year, and then we have women who constantly come back. Once they get back on their feet, they come back and they volunteer and they share their stories, and it's always nice to celebrate those kind of milestones. So yeah, my kitchen sees, and I live in a small 3-room HDB flat, so it has seen a lot of things.
Great. Asha, so I mean, obviously you've started with food, right? What are the other ideas? How do we galvanize the community to basically support women in difficult situations? There are lots of different things that people face. How do we galvanize the community?
Food was where we started initially, because food, cooking has been very healing for me, and I just wanted to to share that joy with others. It eventually, Asha and Co eventually grew into other initiatives like art, conversation. We used to have monthly walks before the pandemic happened, so we have branched out into plenty of initiatives. But I do feel that to strengthen the community, everyone has to be involved. Everyone has to believe that they can be involved, and they should challenge. We all carry biases and stereotypes, right? So it's okay. Even if you don't have the knowledge, even if you carry these stereotypes, it's okay, as long as you're open to difficult conversations, you're open to learning, relearning, unlearning, you're open to being allies, being an extra pair of hands, being an extra pair of eyes. These little things matter. I think when we want to talk about making change, people always think about doing the big grand things, but these little things make a difference, and they actually determine if a community can thrive or only a selected few can progress while the rest are being left behind because of circumstances that are beyond their control.
Yeah, the sisterhood, right? It goes back to that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Asha, for sharing your journey and sharing your experiences with us. It's been awesome talking to you. I almost want to keep you here and not let you go, but I have to say goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me, Aarathi and Dhaniah. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. What a lovely circle of gratitude, right?
Yeah, and with the work that Asha does, it's like getting the help when you need to be healed, and then passing that healing on to others. It's really necessary, I think, for us to recognize what our body and soul needs. And speaking of knowing your body, our guest next up is yoga activist and facilitator and birth doula Devi Chen. She runs Terra Luna Yoga, and she's a champion of a woman's right to understand, own, and honor her body. Devi discovered how yoga is male anatomy and experience centric, and therefore not in alignment with the female body. And it begins with the pelvis. This led her to womb yoga and to launch Terra Luna Yoga, honoring and respecting the female body as more than simply a vessel of childbirth and menstruation, and more than a body to be examined, ignored, or abused by social, emotional, and physical patriarchy. Please welcome the lovely Devi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Dhaniah. Hi, Aarathi. Thank you so much for having me. That was a lovely introduction. I hope I live up to it.
You already do, just by being here. Come on. Okay, Devi, tell me.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Patriarchy in yoga. What does this mean? How does this manifest as a pivotal point for you to decide to reassess yoga in its entirety?
Okay, so it's a very big question, and I think my definition that I'm going to give you today might evolve maybe 5 minutes later, but I'll try my best. Okay. I think first off, we need to recognize that it is extremely hard to find any system of belief that is not organized around patriarchal principles. Yoga is one of such systems. If you think about the yoga that you see today with all its, even though you see it's very gravity-defying and contortionist, and some people say fairly performative on Instagram, we tend to not think about it as it primarily beginning as a spiritually monastic practice geared towards enlightenment. Yeah. And this was really a practice intended for because back then men were the only ones who were allowed to enter the monastic order. They were the ones who had the privilege of being on the pathway to enlightenment. So besides it being just a practice for men, the way that the yoga system is designed is very hierarchical. There are 8 limbs in total, of which asana, or the physical practice that we are very, very familiar with, is the third limb. And right at the top is enlightenment, which I mentioned earlier. The way it's also dispensed is from male teacher to male student, and he has been for many, many years until yoga, got proliferated to the West, where right now it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry. Today, however, we see the patriarchy represented in many different ways. However, the same organizing principles remain, even though we don't see that sort of guru-student relationship as strongly as before. What has replaced that is like, very grand accrediting institutions that have very codified ways of what is it to be, what you have to learn in order to be a yoga teacher, what are the principles, what are the rules, and so on and so forth. And beneath that structure are the yoga teachers like myself who, have to follow this fixed set of rules and beliefs. And if you do that depart, then, you get into trouble, or in some cases, you get sort of disowned by that particular yoga school. And also today, even though the teaching approach maybe doesn't have that sort of very deep spiritual message, I mean, I talk about just a few, but the way that it's still being taught, it's very pedantic in nature, very male anatomy centered, and very sort of linear in progression. So there's like, okay, you need to do sun salutation 8, and you go on to the next one, and so on, and you go into the more advanced or intermediate poses. So that's a context, but I wanted to share about why this is a problem. So this patriarchy I've defined it as a problem because today most teachers and gurus, teacher trainers and gurus, beg your pardon, are men. Most teachers and practitioners are women. It's like 75% to 80% in some countries. And when you have this gender imbalance in this system, you leave no room for nuance, interpretation, or adaptation. And this gives rise to a very disempowering environment, wherein the female body, her cyclical nature, the biological rhythms that sort of like define her life is not only bypassed, it's completely respected. I'm not sure if the both of you practice yoga. Think about the last time you were in a regular class and whether or not you were asked proactively if you're on your period, if you are pregnant, or you're just given birth, you're wearing an IUD, if you're suffering from any other ailment that would, make some certain poses contraindicatory for you, right? So most people answer like, no teacher's ever asked me that. So for me personally, I feel that right now in the yoga world, it does feel that if you do try to raise these questions, you're mocked or silenced. I've been called a sexist teacher for only wanting to teach women. And if you don't ask and you remain silent, then you get taken advantage of, and you sometimes find yourself in a very extreme situation to physical and sexual abuse in yoga, which is right now on the rise. So the second part is what then pivoted me to this path that I'm on now. I thought it was very important to set the context. I think it's hard to find a single impetus to what drove me to where I am. I've been injured from being physically manipulated into poses that were designed with the male anatomy in mind. I was, I guess, asked to suspend my own authority so that, in order for me to gain enlightenment by some of these guru teachers that I've encountered with. And along with thousands of other women, I also have fallen victim to sexual assault by yoga teachers in my past. But maybe if I want to sort of define a singular moment, and this is an answer that I've just come up with, because it took me a while, is that I think it's when I became a mother and wanting my daughter to never experience what I experienced in the yoga world. And hopefully by, creating Terra Luna and this community of sisterhood, that I'm able to guide her to trust her own wisdom and not ever suspend her authority for anyone or any organization. And hopefully this, prepares her for the world that she's going to navigate as a woman. Long answer.
But Devi, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so sorry that you were subject to those experiences. But then again, that's why you're Terra Luna Yoga, right?
Silver lining. Yeah.
Yeah, silver lining.
I think so. Yeah.
How does your yoga studio, Devi, address these deep imbalances and societal constructs? I mean, we've all watched, the documentaries where, they talk about the Bikram yoga, and, you could really see everything that you talked about just now. So how does your yoga studio differ?
So I think firstly, just being woman focused just gives us that space, that safe space to be able to, ask women, is there anything that you would like to share with us? For instance, are you on your period? If there's any other conditions that our teachers or facilitators who teach from a very embodied understanding of the women's body and their experiences would be able to then guide you better in. I think that's first and foremost something that sets us apart. Sorry about that. We also, in our offerings, make sure that there is something for every woman at every stage of her life. So whether you are someone who's about to menstruate, menarche, right? Or you're someone who is pregnant, or someone who is postpartum, or someone's perimenopausing or menopausing, we want to make sure that there is a class for you, and that in any class that you enter, there will be space for you, and that our teachers and our facilitators will be able to guide you. There is no hierarchy. When Noorlinah first interviewed, I really didn't like to use the word teacher, because it sort of connects this sort of classroom, this sort of authoritative role. I really like the way she described it as activist. But in the yoga studio, there isn't really a hierarchy. It's really about what you get to decide what to practice. So if I say, perhaps you might want to step your right foot forward and turn your left toe down and see what that feels like for your body, the power is returned to you. We don't ever want to take that power away from you. We also don't subscribe to societal ideals of what women should look like or feel in a practice. We have important conversations with our women, especially around taboo subjects. Some of the things that Asha have mentioned, like mental health issues, like maternal depression. We just had a mother circle on racism. What is it got to do with yoga? But I think it's got everything to do with being human. And period shame and pregnancy loss. So we want to get conversations around women's bodies, around her role in society started. And I'm just using my yoga studio as a way to get those conversations going.
So Devi, that's brilliant. I think it's good to have that safe space, and congratulations for creating that space. So womb yoga.
Yeah.
What does it entail? How does it connect us back to who we are and take back our bodies?
So I always say, when someone asks me, what is womb yoga? Do I have to be pregnant to practice it? And I'm like, no, you don't even have to have a womb to practice womb yoga. We refer to the space as a womb space rather than the organ itself. Womb yoga is just a very nice way of saying that this is a yoga for women. It is a yoga practice to honor that first and foremost, you are a cyclical being. It is a practice of remembering that you're first and foremost a woman, and that should inform how you practice your yoga. I think that is sort of like the overarching principle of womb yoga, right? I practice womb yoga in my power classes. In every other styles that I do, it's more like a belief system than an actual practice itself. But in and of itself, the practice is about embodiment. It's about returning to what feels nourishing for you, what feels naturally occurring for you, and not trying to, go against that flow and rhythm of your body. So in the womb yoga class, you will often hear myself or my other facilitator, Dhaniah, ask, so if you're on your bleed today, maybe you might not want to elevate your hips. If you're menopausing, maybe bearing a bit more weight on your bones, because we all know the osteoporosis risk of menopause. So just having that sort of nuance for each person, making everybody feel welcome. People ask me, what is womb yoga? And I'm like, it's everything. It's everything that I think every woman should get to experience, whichever point of your life you experience that.
That's right. Can you, Devi, show us a short example of how we can do this?
Yeah, we always start off with a heart womb meditation at the beginning of the practice. And if you're sitting comfortably, which I know all of you are because Noorlinah asked you to get comfortable, if you could place your hands over your heart, it doesn't matter which hand is on top of which hand. And just take a couple of moments here to settle the breath and let the breath settle. There's no need for you to change or alter anything about the breath that's being breathed. And just feeling the warmth of your hands against the space of your heart, just allowing the breath to settle here, perhaps with the rhythm of your heart beating. Once you're able to arrive, in this space, you may wish to close your eyes like I'm doing now, but know that it is a necessity. And if it feels welcome for you, feel free to then just start to slide your top hand down towards your womb space, just beneath your navel, towards your pelvic bones. And then slide up again, carrying the mental attention back towards the heart. And then perhaps accompany this movement with a breath. As you inhale, you can bring your hands up. And as you exhale, you can reach your hands down to caress and hold your womb space. Just doing this as many times as you need in order for you to welcome home to yourself. And then once you feel like you're able to settle into this space that is your body, that is your home, feel free to then rest both of your hands over your heart, and you may wish to invite a positive affirmation. You may also wish to invite this mantra that we often share in our womb yoga practice, and that is, with great respect and love, I honor my heart, my inner teacher. And feel free to now to bring your thumb and your index finger to touch and form an inverted triangle and slide it from your chest down towards your womb space. This is called the Yoni Mudra. Rest your inverted triangle over your womb space. Just take a moment here to connect the heart to the womb and bring into your awareness, where does the blood of your womb space come from? How do you bleed? How do you nourish yourself here in this womb space? Just recognizing that it comes from the mother of all wisdom and source of creativity and nourishment, and that is the heart. So feel free now to just place both hands over the heart. You can do a butterfly sort of shape and place it over your chest. And you can repeat that same mantra again with great respect and love. I honor my heart, my inner teacher. And that's it. You can do that every single day. Anytime you feel like some grounding or nourishment is needed. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the linking of the heart to the womb. Thank you. Thank you, Devi. I think there was
we don't remember that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. We forget.
Yeah.
That
We
was
forget,
certainly a
yeah.
new experience for me. And I hazard a guess many of our audience watching as well. All the best, Devi, with Terra Luna. And I look forward to hearing more about your work.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks for having me,
Bye.
ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You feel very calm now? I
Yeah.
really love that practice. And it's such
It was
a
very
simple one
centering.
too.
Exactly. I liked, did you see that comment by Nabila Saad? I really like that. She said how she's seen all these women on the website, right? She's read all their profiles. And now that she's hearing them in person, she's just like, wow, they really, like, you really feel their strength when they tell their story.
Yeah,
And, you know,
get to see the energy exude through the screen and what they're all about in a way.
Yeah. We've got another comment from Dana Lam. Thank you, Noorlinah Mohamed, for rounding up these awesome women for now, and great format, so lively. I will take that as a personal compliment, Dana. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've got some earlier comments from Alicia Neo. Wonderful sharing, Aisha. Removing stigma is crucial. Thank you to all the amazing sharing. So it's been fantastic just listening to all these ladies, listening to their work, putting their passion where it counts, right? I mean, rather than just talking about the fact that they don't like the injustices that they've seen, or the fact that migrant families don't have access to, you know, basic English literacy, they've done something about it. They rolled up their sleeves and just gotten it done. And I think hats off.
Exactly. They're not shy or feeling nervous about getting right down to doing, you know, the work on the ground, the dirty work.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, because we've had some technical difficulties, Zubi won't be able to join us tonight, but we would like to bring her back tomorrow. Just to round up again, she works with women and children from less privileged backgrounds to help them gain social, emotional, and life skills. She also creates a foundation for self-sufficiency in circumstances that can't always provide stability. Zubi Ali is a community organizer and consultant to Daughters of Tomorrow. So with that, that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. It has been an honor to speak with all the ladies who were with us, and I hope you've learned more about the diverse work that's being laboured here in Singapore. You've been watching Live Chats with Women of Now, Part 1. I'm Dhaniah.
And I'm Aarathi. Do join us again tomorrow night, same time, same place, as we continue conversations with 2 more TCare beneficiaries. It's Raining Raincoats and Project Julia, as well as more projects of women helping women and marginalized communities in Singapore. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Evelyn Chai for helping with the sign languaging today.
Yes, thank you so much. Do visit www.notordinarywork.com to find out more about all the projects featured on Women of Now, including the 7 TCare beneficiaries and how you can support their work. Thank you and good night.
Good night.